No hype, no bias, just facts, tests and a lot of footage. Is the DJI Osmo Nano the best tiny action camera money can buy? Let's inspect.
Yes, this is my promise. Facts only. That's what I always base my reviews on. And while some creators are quite good at bending the truth, with cameras it's pretty straightforward, especially when you've got the footage and the evidence to prove it. But what makes a great camera isn't just the image quality, it's the overall experience. DJI, pioneers in creator-centric gear, are entering new territory here, the super tiny action camera world, and trust me, I've got a lot to say and show you. Nice to meet you, I'm Michael, the TechMishka, and here's everything about the DJI Osmo Nano. Let's dive in.
Image quality is the first big chapter, and honestly, DJI nailed it. Daytime footage looks superb, crisp details across most of the frame, and that familiar natural DJI color science. In many shots, the Nano looks almost as good as its bigger brother, the Action 5 Pro, but in a much more flexible form factor, one that's almost invisible when mounted on the chest. Though there is notable softness towards the edges, which is perhaps a bit more than what we are used to have with other action cameras. Still, if you've ever wished for Action 5 Pro level quality in a smaller body with fewer resolution modes, this is your best bet. Of course, the big question, how does it compare to the Insta360 Go Ultra? Well, in daylight, most people wouldn't notice much of a difference, but professionals definitely will. The Nano is the only tiny camera capable of 10-bit video, and that's a big deal for color grading and pro workflows. Now, the low light. Here, things get interesting and surprisingly good. The Nano delivers solid detail, good contrast, pleasing sharpness and controlled noise. It comfortably joins the top-tier Ace Pro 2, Go Ultra, Osmo Action 4 and 5, all solid night performers. Side by side, the Nano absolutely crushes the current GoPros and holds up impressively against its closest rivals. But after all, it is an action camera, so there will be jerkiness in many of the cases. For best results, utilize the dedicated night modes. DJI ships the Nano in a package that's not only more affordable, but also well thought out than the Go Ultra. Even with the basic combo, you're ready to go. I personally skipped the premium set because I already own a lot of DJI mounts. Build quality? Classic DJI, robust, refined and detailed. You get a few essential accessories plus a protective case that's priceless if you film in dusty or risky conditions. And since I do that a lot, the replaceable lens cover is also a must-have in my opinion. The tiny form factor lets you sneak it into tight spaces, though honestly it's still a bit bulkier than what I'd hoped. The dock is fantastic and you can mount it on either side, which is clever. But that little side door covering the USB-C port and the microSD slot makes me a little nervous. Feels like one rough pull could be too much. When you check the specs though, DJI has good excuses. The Nano outperforms the Insta360 Go Ultra in nearly every key area. Better battery life, built-in 128 gig storage, 10-bit recording, somewhat better stabilization, and full compatibility with Osmo Action mounts from the past few years. That's impressive.
The big advantage about this hardware is that DJI relies on tech they already master. It's not officially confirmed, but very likely the Nano shares the same 1 by 1.3 inch image sensor as the Action 5 Pro. The lens is a bit narrower, to be precise 7.7% narrower, and I suspect that inside we have a Qualcomm-based chipset, which would explain the 10-bit video, the D-Log M support, and the efficient power use. I also loved this included housing, but there is one frustration that when these are apart, you can't really replay videos unless they physically are connected to each other. Maybe future firmware fix is going to enable this, or maybe not. The internal storage, which is integrated in here, is a huge plus. You can shoot entirely without a micro SD card. The only purpose of the micro SD slot is to act as a backup and transfer from the main camera to the charging station. So from a hardware perspective, with a few tiny exceptions, it is almost great.
Now, the software side. And this might be the first time in years that I'm not entirely happy with the DJI interface. Menu navigation feels a little different to Osmo Action 5, and not in the good way. Consistency across devices used to be one of DJI's strongest points, and here it's slightly lost. Some shooting modes are missing, and others, like night mode or slow motion, have arrived through updates. Yes, the Nano can record at 4K 120 frames per second with high bitrate, and it's the only tiny action cam capable of doing that at this quality level. But switching between modes without a dedicated button could be awkward. I wish DJI had added a second physical control somewhere. There is no zoom option either, unlike Osmo Action 4 and 5, and that's something I genuinely miss. I also ran into issues with low light flicker. DJI doesn't give you an easy anti-flicker setting to switch between 50 and 60 Hz, so if you are in Europe, use 25 frames per second, in the US, 30 FPS, otherwise you will get visible flickering if there are some lights around. This makes the dedicated night mode limited. And here's a conceptual conflict. DJI lets you shoot pro-grade D-Log-M 10-bit footage, but it's not so easy to attach these ND filters. The protective case makes it impossible to use quick-mount ND filters. Apart from these annoyances, everything else feels premium. Smooth scrolling, fluid menus, and plenty of meaningful customization. The battery performance is also solid, better than any Insta360 Go device, though not quite on par with the Action line. Recording at 60 frames per second is the most power-hungry. Even if you use 1080p, that's not gonna cure it due to the downsampling. For longer endurance, stick to 4K 24 or 30 frames per second. None of these pieces have a removable battery, of course, but knowing DJI, the battery management and reliability are top-notch. So, a vlogging and microphone test. Fun fact, it's the very same location where I've tested the microphone of the Insta360 Go Ultra a few weeks ago. Two things to pay attention to over here. The first one, I'm actually using an ND filter, which makes the motion blur a lot more natural. And secondly, this is the internal microphone of the DJI Osmo Nano. But I think the bigger bonus here is that this very camera gives you access to the most advanced wireless microphone ecosystem, because you could use the DJI Mic 2 and 3, the wireless options, and the DJI Mic Mini as well. And any thoughts about the internal microphone? Let me know in the comments. Now, let's talk about the app, DJI Mimo. Just as capable here as with the larger Osmo Action cameras. Clean layout, quick pairing, tons of depth if you explore. That said, if you're after something exceptional for AI-driven reframing or creative editing, Insta360's app still holds a small edge. DJI's feels stable and pro-oriented, while Insta's feels more fun and social. Okay, flipping the page, and here's what I didn't quite like. First, there is no reframing option. You are locked into landscape mode for wide footage. Mounted vertically, and the sensor gives you a 3:4 ratio at best. This is something that GoPro Hero 13 and Insta360 Go 2 handled better, and are praised for. Overheating? Surprisingly not a big issue in my opinion, considering it is such a tiny 4K 60 FPS action camera. Expectations need to stay realistic. And my remark about the edges, which show slight distortion, likely due to the new lens design. Now, pay attention, because this is where everything adds up. The Osmo Nano costs less than its main competitor, the Insta360 Go Ultra, almost as much as the GoPro Lite, which makes GoPro's pricing and technology look ridiculous. Supports more resolution, recalling 10-bit D-Log-M, has inbuilt storage, and 128 gigs are quite generous from DJI side. It works with almost all existing DJI Osmo Action accessories. If you own an Osmo Action 2 from 2021, chances are that your mounts and clamps are still going to fit with the Nano. This is commitment to long-term user support
and I totally love it. Beware of paid jokers out there repeating talking points about, well, the inability to do playback when these are not physically connected. They talk about overheating. Well, Qualcomm chips handle heat far better and more effectively than Umbrella, which most of the competitors use. And this feels like a camera which is made by creators for creators. And right now, in my opinion, hands down, this is the best and most complete tiny action camera on the market. If you need the full package with more resolution support and tad better image quality, the larger Action 5 Pro still wins, in my opinion. But honestly, most of the time while using the Nano, I didn't feel limited at all. And coming from someone addicted to the Osmo Action 5 Pro, that says a lot. So if you enjoy this review, check the links below for my test footage, accessories, updates, and of course link to the product. I'm Michael, the TechMishka. Thank you very much for watching. And as always, let's inspect together. See you next time.